And of those 40,000 words that she read, she said, at the rate you're going, you're writing a book that is longer than the rise and fall of the Third Reich. And no offense, but this is football in Odessa. This is not Nazi Germany. And of those 40,000 words, about 5,000 words remained. I threw out probably 30 to 35,000 words. In terms of what I do, I try to write I write much better in the morning. It doesn't matter what time you write. Write every day. If you're writing a book or you're writing a long form piece or whatever, write every day. Just try to pull out, if it's 5 words, 10 words, 1,000 words, if you're cooking 5,000 words, write every day. Get something out so you have something to play with the next day. Nothing is worse than when you have writer's block and you're sitting there and nothing comes and you waste the whole fucking day, and then you get up the next morning and there's that blank screen again. It'll drive you crazy. So will yourself to write. It was the best advice that was ever given to me. Write something every day. It'll just make you feel better about yourself and better about what you're doing. The other book I'm going to talk about very briefly, and then I'm going to stop, is, and I actually don't consider myself a sports writer. I'm someone who writes about sports. This was my 3rd book, 3 nights in August. It was a book about the St. Louis Cardinals. I know there are a lot of Cardinal fans. Well, Will Leach is one and the bookseller is one, so there are at least 3 of us. 3 Nights in August was a book that tried to capture sort of the timeless strategy and humanity of the game. It was centered around Tony La Russa, who's a very complex, fascinating manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. It was framed, and the other thing about writing books is I think the tighter you're focused, the better off you are. So the frame of this book was very narrow and very narrowly defined. It was a 3-game series between the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals, and within that 3-game series I wrote a lot of different things. And this is a section of the book about Darryl Kyle. For those of you who remember, Darryl Kyle was a pitcher who tragically had a heart attack the night before he was supposed to pitch for the Cardinals at Wrigley Field. There were so many things that happened the next morning, images that cannot be erased no matter how much you wanted to erase them. You could see Mike Matheny urging someone, anyone, to check on Kyle's whereabouts. Where the hell was he when he hadn't shown up in the cubbyhole of the visitors' clubhouse of Wrigley after the team bus had arrived? You could see the head of security for the Westin breaking into room 1102 after repeated phone calls had gone unanswered and finding him there, still in his bed, wearing the black eye shades that helped him sleep, with one arm across the pillow and the other across his upper torso. You could see Barry Weinberg rushing off the field with Walt Jocketty after a phone call. You could see Buddy Bates, then the equipment manager, fall into a chair in the clubhouse and cup his hands. You could see reliever David Veers whispering, "They found DK. They can't wake him up." Then retreat into the tiny equipment room to sob in private. You could see Matheny pleading with Bates to tell him what was wrong, asking him, "Is Darryl still alive?" And lifting Bates by the collar when Bates didn't know what to say, because how do you say something like that? Until he just nodded no, he was dead. And Matheny pulled off his jersey because baseball simply didn't matter anymore. You could see Tony La Russa standing in the middle of a circle of players and saying softly, "They found Darryl. He's dead." You could see Joe Girardi, then playing for the Cubs, come out onto the field of Wrigley and announce to the sold-out crowd with tears in his eyes, almost unable to speak, that the game would be postponed because of a, quote, tragedy in the Cardinal family. You could see all these things and so many more things and still not believe it. A player, a teammate, there with you the night before, doing all the things players do on the road, grabbing dinner with friends at Harry Carey's, getting back to the hotel at 10:30 to call his wife, rejecting Matt Morris's invitation shortly before midnight to have a drink in the hotel because, you know what, Matty Mo, I feel a little tired. I just feel a little tired. You could think of Darryl, the way he competed and the impatience with which he treated himself, not cutting himself any slack, because that's what quitters did, and baseball had enough quitters in it already. And when you thought of Darryl, it was impossible not to think of his wife and those 3 beautiful children he had. You could grope for things to say, ways of realizing it, or somehow making it less real. You could listen to Tony La Russa in a closed-door meeting that night on the 16th floor of the Westin Hotel, recounting that last conversation he'd had with Darryl Kyle, how he told him how important he was to the team, how he had said to him, "We can't make it without you, Darryl." And then you could listen to Dave Duncan Dave Duncan, the quiet assassin, Duncan the deacon, Duncan whose words were so sparse they were called biblical. You could see the tears well up in his eyes as he spoke about his fallen pitcher who had died of a heart attack in his sleep at the age of 33. You could see him stop to steady himself, and then you could listen to him in the sterile antiseptic wash of that hotel conference room when he talked about what a privilege it had been to work with Darryl Kyle. You could listen to him describing how wonderful it had been to talk the bittersweet beauty of pitching with him, the timeless and impossible silence of trying to figure out what precisely made it work, which was why it was always worth talking about. And you could listen to him when he said that for now and forever, he would use Darryl Kyle as a model in his own life to attain the same professional heights. And more than just that, because there was so much more than just that. The humanity of Darryl Kyle, the absolutely exquisite humanity. Thank you.